When you watch Zootopia 2, easily one of the best Disney animated films in recent years, one big question hangs in the air. Where is the villain who appeared in the trailers? One of the biggest hypes surrounding Zootopia 2 was the mystery about the identity of the hooded villain who showed up in the trailers. But once we watched the film, we quickly realized that this supposed villain was completely deleted. A lot of people say that the scene where Nick shines the party spotlight onto Gary while he's hanging from the Zootennial Gala chandelier is the answer to this question. But that's not quite true. That's because if you go back to the trailer released months before the movie, there's a scene, apparently on top of a tall building, where Zootopia 2's three main characters, Nick, Judy, and Gary, are being cornered by this hooded villain. So Gary absolutely could not be the villain and scare himself at the same time. Back then, dozens of theories popped up about the villain's identity. Some said it might be Nick's father. Others thought it could be the last human alive in the world of Zootopia. But apparently this secret will remain hidden until the third movie, which we know is coming, especially after that post-credit scene where a feather appears on Judy's apartment balcony. And if you think this was the only deleted character or scene from Zootopia 2, you're totally mistaken. Get ready because now we're about to blow your mind. Besides the Linksleys, the original idea for Zootopia 2 was that the powerful family controlling the biggest animal city in the world would also have henchmen from different species helping them carry out their dirty work. And one of them would be a small, fast squirrel who would take part in their shady operations, like sabotaging Judy and Nick during their investigation involving reptiles and the injustices committed against that group of animals introduced in the second movie. In one of the planned scenes, this tiny villain would steal an old film reel, proving that Gary's ancestor was the one who created the climate control technology that allowed every species to live comfortably in Zootopia. This chase would happen in the swamp market, with Judy sprinting after the criminal squirrel while Nick tried his best to keep up. Unfortunately, we'll never know whether Judy managed to catch this crime-loving squirrel because that entire scene was deleted. If you watched Zootopia 2, you definitely noticed that the city's new mayor was inspired by several 90s tough guy action heroes. Before becoming mayor, he was literally a Hollywood action star in Zootopia, which we see in the scene where Nick scrolls through his streaming service in his apartment. Aside from all those animal-style fight scenes, there was also going to be a moment where Wind Dancer recreated the famous Jean-Claude Van Damme stunt, the iconic split between two moving trucks, balancing on them with his legs to show that he wasn't just a pretty equine action movie face, but a real tough guy. Even though this scene wasn't included, we can clearly see that Zootopia's new mayor is a top-tier martial artist. Milton Linksley's jaw knows that very well. Besides the hooded villain, other characters shown in the trailer never appeared in the final version of the movie. One example is a completely new character who caught the attention of Zootopia fans in the trailer's final scenes, a sunburned hamster, or better said, sun roasted. Have you ever noticed that we have never seen a beach in Zootopia, even though the city features practically every ecosystem we know? So we can assume this character was supposed to be some sort of tourist who loves poolside vacations, which makes total sense considering his bright red sunburn, his sunglasses, and his optimistic posture. Maybe he'll appear in the third movie at Zootopia's beach, especially since that feather in Judy's apartment could belong to a seagull or a pelican, both beach-dwelling birds. That makes perfect sense to me. What about you? Among all the deleted Zootopia 2 characters, the ones fans miss the most are the reptile secret agents shown in several pieces of concept art, but who never appeared or were even mentioned in the new Judy and Nick adventure. These two characters were basically what we would call Secret Service agents, which is obvious from their black suits and ties, their dark sunglasses, and the communication devices in their ears. Their role is still a complete mystery, but they could easily have been working for reptile politicians, who might belong to Zootopia's city council. But, as we later learned, reptiles didn't have any political representation in the animal city, something that will definitely change now that they're migrating back to their original district. Here's a little tip for you. Click the subscribe button down below. That way it'll be much harder for you to miss any of our upcoming videos. In Zootopia 2, we learned that Judy is not only an almost professional rally driver, she also can't quite reach the brake pedals in cars designed for much bigger mammals. But what really surprised fans is discovering that the original opening chase sequence was supposed to feature the Judy Mobile, Judy's very own personal car. It would even be with this vehicle that our heroic duo would find Nibbles and begin their investigation into the mystery surrounding Gary. And the details of this car would have been amazing. First, it would be completely pink, matching Judy's tough but feminine style. Second, a giant orange carrot decal would be printed across the hood, and a small pink bunny ornament would be attached to the windshield, confirming that Judy really loves being a bunny. Here's a little tip for you. Click the subscribe button down below. That way it'll be much harder for you to miss any of our upcoming videos. Still talking about Judy's car, it would make total sense for her to have one, especially because Anthony, that corrupt anteater who works at the port of Zootopia, was originally supposed to be the owner of a used car dealership. And you know exactly what people say around here about the owners of shops like that, don't you? Anyway, the truth is that Judy would probably go to Anthony's dealership as part of her investigation against the suspicious ant-eating criminal, and maybe that's where she'd find the perfect car with her name written all over it. But of course, she wouldn't fall for an overpriced deal. After all, she's way too smart for that, right? Still in this automotive vibe of Zootopia 2, Another scene that would be completely different is the chase involving Anthony. That's because the original idea was that he wouldn't escape in a pastry van, but rather in a van from a plumbing services company. On top of that, we would also get a third vehicle involved in this opening chase scene, nothing less than an ice cream truck driven by our beloved Officer Clawhauser, which, let's be honest, makes total sense, since ice cream fits this chubby officer's whole vibe perfectly. And come to think of it, that would also explain why we saw him working as a traffic guard at the Zootopia Gala. That would be his punishment for helping Judy and Nick in a chase that was definitely not authorized by Chief Bogo. Although, in my opinion, he looked like he was having the time of his life dancing to Gazelle's music. If you watched our first video showing the movie's Easter eggs, you already know that Zootopia 2 included subtle references to some classics from Mickey's house like The Lion King and The Emperor's New Groove, plus a very obvious Ratatouille reference in the scene where we see that, in the Zootopia Gala kitchen, a rat was hiring a lion who worked there. However, originally there was another reference planned. One to an even older classic that would have been animated and included in Disney's police animal movie, Cinderella. The idea was simple. During the event where Gary appears, there would be a huge commotion, similar to what happens in the original film. But instead of chasing Gary, Judy and Nick would have to leave the place, and during that moment, Judy would end up losing one of her golden shoes. What would happen after that is tough to say, but maybe that shoe would become a clue the criminal Linksleys would use to try to track down our heroine. Probably Paubert himself, and we'd all think he was doing it out of love, kind of like in Cinderella, but it would be the opposite, with him revealing himself to be a villain. Just like in the animated film, and just like Prince Hans in Frozen. When Nick and Judy are on their mission to uncover the truth that the Linksleys want to hide at any cost, they climb a rocky wall that leads directly to a honeymoon cabin. And if you pay close attention, you'll remember that Judy walks past a contemplation bench with a sign warning that it's a romantic spot. However, the original idea was for that little bench moment to be explored more deeply, while in the final version of the movie, we only see Judy step on it before getting down to try grabbing Nick's recorder. In the original version, she would actually sit there and reflect on the absence of her partner and, who knows, her future boyfriend. Meanwhile, Nick would still be down at the base of the rocky wall. This would bring some, let's say, very interesting changes to the plot. I don't know about you, but I'd love to see Judy and Nick's friendship evolve just a little more, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, boy.
To wrap up our video, another amazing detail that ended up being cut from the movie was the idea that there would be a primordial Zootopia, meaning a first Zootopia built by reptiles, but buried under the sands of Sahara Square thanks to the cunning schemes of the evil Linksley ancestor, instead of being hidden beneath the snow of Tundra Town. The cool thing is that this ancient Zootopia would have the shape of a perfectly drawn animal paw, and at some point in the story, Nick and Judy would find it and uncover the entire dark plot of the Linksleys, trying to cover up their wicked past. This idea is really awesome. Maybe Disney will use it in the third movie, which they will definitely produce. And we're all anxiously waiting for it. We're wrapping up this video, but if you love having your mind blown, this is the place to be. That's why we picked 2 great videos for you to click, watch, and, best of all, keep hanging out with us.